will expand on what I mean by the real estate market in on the continent of Africa. It's wide open. As an American, you can build your wealth and create generational wealth. We always discuss generational wealth. But the problem about generational wealth, we really do not understand it because we never had correction. We do not have that many people in the black community that pass on generational wealth. When we had it, we sold it off. We sold all our land that was in our family for being like the white man. So now we have to start all over again. Now, the various types of properties that you can purchase in Ghana, you can actually buy a house that's already built, or you can buy raw land and build your house, your office building, the hotel, whatever it may be. But in the part of purchasing, you got to make sure that the land that you purchasing, that you can legally purchase it. You have to be careful about the agent, so-called agent that you're dealing with, because many of the individuals that's selling land or trying to sell land to you are not licensed. There are somewhat of a license process in Ghana, but it's not enforced as it is in America. So many of the individuals are not licensed. As myself, I will be going through the steps to be a licensed agent or go through the process of being recognized as an agent in Ghana and other African countries on the continent. And I will be licensed here in Georgia as a reputable licensed agent. The reason being that way I will be held accountable and I will have a fiduciary responsibility to my client, not my customer. That means to be my client, you have to sign a contract and agreement. If you don't have a contract agreement, you're just a customer. Now, one of the steps that you need to understand about buying land in Ghana, especially in the capital, they list it in US dollars. Although the law states nothing should be listed in dollars, but as I say, they don't enforce the law. As a foreigner, understand that they will enforce it on you, not the locals. Also, you're not supposed to pay cash for property, which was passed, but they still pay cash. But as a foreigner, I would not suggest that you put cash on the barrelhead. There is not a mortgage per se in Ghana and in most of the African countries. There's not per se a way of getting a mortgage. They do have them, but it's not what you typically get in the United States. And also, the interest rate is quite high. If you can pay cash for your property, good. Also, once you go through the process of purchasing a property in Ghana, you need to have all the documentation. You would never pay complete price for property, never pay full price at the time of the negotiation. Once you agree, also another thing, people from Ghana do not like to negotiate, especially with foreigners, because they believe that you are rich and you have the money. Even if you have the money, they can get over on you, which I don't agree with. But you need to make sure that they have the legal documentation for the land. Even when you're dealing with the chief where you're buying the land, because that's where you're going to get your better price when you're dealing with a chief of a particular area. But like in Accra, the capital, these lands has already been sold several times. So it's difficult to find out. Well, it's not really, but sometimes it's difficult to find out who's the chief of a particular area. and Accra is the capital, do have chiefs in certain areas. So you have to be careful. And you have to have your land surveyed at the time that you get ready to purchase. You go to the land department to verify that the documents are legit. Also, another thing that I learned was if the land document is not written by a lawyer, or as they say, a barrister, that document is not worth the paper it's written on, especially if an individual write the paperwork up and they're not a lawyer. If you go to court, you will lose. Um, they believe that lawyers should write all contracts in Ghana. So as I go through the process of becoming an agent in Ghana, yes, I will have a lawyer to draw up all documentation, and we will give a small deposit to the landowner, and will not give any more money until all documentation has been verified. And if any issue come up, then it would be uh, determined if you want to continue. And my suggestion, which I have to verify with a lawyer, we can place the money into an escrow and it be held there until certain period of time. Once that has been determined, um, that the document is legitimate, then you will continue with the purchase. Also, once you have surveyed the land, got you waiting on the documentation for the land, I would suggest that you start building something on the land. But if you do not, someone will come by and say it's their land, and as a foreigner, you will lose. So start building a wall. Most of the time in Ghana, they start building a wall around their land. And I need for you to understand also, they have this thing called land guards. It's not what you think it is. As an American, when we think of land guards, we think it's security officers guarding your land, keeping people off your land. It's the opposite. They're guarding the land and keeping you off your land. And you cannot get back on your land unless you pay them some money. So you have to be very cautious when you're dealing with land in Ghana. I know some of the things that I'm saying is not positive, but would you rather for me to tell you the truth and then get there and be disappointed and then be looking at me and thinking I lied? No, I'm not that type of person. I don't believe in scamming or telling lies. I'd rather for you to have the bitter truth than a sweet lie. So buying land, once you go through the process, is beautiful. You will not have the hassles that you have in the United States of owning land. And then you will have something you can pass down to your children and your children's children. Um, there is a very much a housing shortage, and you can come to Africa and help smalling the housing shortage in some type of way. Also, you can bring new technology in building homes in Africa. That's one thing that's need to be done because they still do things the old way. Um, Even though there are more efficient ways of doing things, such as they will buy cement, they'll get the sand, get the blocks, they'll gravel, and make their own blocks for the house. And you have to wait till those blocks cure before you can use them, which is normally between 3 months to 6 months before you can actually start using them to build. They have people who call what they have block factories, but most people don't like using block factories because they don't trust them. We need to have some type of industry that will make blocks that people trust. That's another area that can go into construction, and also bring more financing so we can have traditional finance.